Hey guys, Chaps here, and let's do another one of these video essay type videos where I try to do this in one take. This is going to be based off of a Reddit thread that I will be publishing on Monday. Right now the thread is currently in its draft form, and that's what I'm looking at as I'm just speaking my mind here. But I'll get that published sometime Monday before this video goes out. As the title suggests, this one is about difficulties in Horde and Escape, but it's more focused on the difficulties in Horde. It's the same setup, so a lot of it carries over. When the system was first announced, I was not a fan of it, and that hasn't really changed. It's grown on me a little bit in Escape, but in Horde, I'm definitely not a fan of it. So let's talk about what the current system is. The current system is a set of modifiers. There's a set number of modifiers in the game, and it will show 7 of them at a time, and you can turn those on or you can turn them off. If you turn it on, it does 3 things. 1, it modifies the game mechanics based on what the modifier says. So that's like faster venom, stronger enemies, and must execute enemies, stuff like that. The second thing it does is it increases the difficulty in the background. That's like your traditional, I'm going from easy to normal, normal to hardcore, hardcore to insane. It changes your health, enemy health, stuff like that. And the last thing it does is it affects the player's score, because the higher the difficulty you're on, aka the more modifiers you have on, the higher your score is going to be. So in my Reddit thread, I break down what I think the issues are and what I think the solution should be. And I recorded this before and it was like 20 minutes long, so I'm trying to shorten it, so I'm just going to condense these and discuss the issues and my solution all at once. So to start off, one of the biggest issues I see is that it's that second point I brought up earlier, where if you add a modifier, it changes your background difficulty, like you're going from normal to hardcore, that type of thing. One of the issues about this is that it doesn't tell you that anywhere. I know people who don't actually realize that that happens. It's kind of weird. A lot of people don't expect those things to be bunched together. And that kind of leads me to my solution to this, and that's just go back to the system that we had in Gears 3. In Gears 3, you selected your difficulty, and then you selected your modifiers. It was 2, completely separate things. So, an issue that we have now that this would solve is that limited the number of options available to the player. So, in Gears 5, you can have 7 modifier options at once. So, in each of those modifiers, you can have either on or off. So that's 2 options per modifier. That's 2 raised to the power of 7 options. That's 128 different difficulty options that you can have right now. Gears 3, Gears 3 had more than 5 modifiers. I don't know the number, but let's use 5 to be conservative. You could equip 3 at once, I think, and there's 4 difficulties. So the math here comes out to 4 difficulties times your 6 options for mod slot 1. That's the 5 modifiers, plus the option of not having one on. Then in mod slot 2, you have 5 remaining modifiers, or the option of not having it on. And in mod slot 3, you have 4 modifiers, or 4 options. It's the 3 remaining modifiers, plus the option of not having one on. That gives you 4 times 6 times 5 times 4. 480 options available in Gears 3 for your difficulty settings, assuming there were only 5 modifiers. And I know there were more than that. That's already almost 4 times as many options as Gears 5 has. I know the Coalition says that there's more player available, or more player options now than there were in the past, and really that's true for Gears 4, but I'd argue that's definitely not true for Gears 3. So let's look at what that would do if we use that system in Gears 5. To start with, 7 modifiers, 2 to the 7th, 128 modifiers. If you have the 4 base difficulties, multiply that number by 4. Now you have 512 different options. That's far more. That's 4 times more than we have currently in Gears 5. I'm not really sure why the Coalition went the route they did. It seems restrictive. The system existed in Gears 3, and people loved it in Gears 3. They got rid of modifiers in Gears 4, and people kind of complained about it. I don't know why they went with this new system that adds back in modifiers, but separates out the difficulty. It just seems weird to me. So not only is it limiting the number of options, it's limiting what type of options we can have. So let's think back to some of the Gears 3 ones. I know when I think of modifiers from Gears 3, there's a couple that pop into my head. It's things like super active reload, comet, vampire, flower blood. There was like an arcade one where coins popped out when you killed people. So let's think about what these have in common. Actually, vampire was a hard one, but it actually made it easier. It was listed as hard, but it made things easier. Super active reload. That is an easy modifier. They can't have easy modifiers with their system in Gears 5 right now, because the more modifiers you have on, that automatically makes your difficulty higher. It wouldn't be right to have an easy modifier there. There's also neutral modifiers in Gears 3, like flower blood. Yeah, flower blood's not necessary, but it's a good example. Or big head mode. It's like something that some people might want, but it's a neutral modifier. It wouldn't be fair because it's not making the system, or it's not making the game as hard, so the score system wouldn't scale properly. If you separate out the difficulty from the modifier, it allows you to have this variety and allows you to tailor the multiplier for each of your different modifiers. So super active reload, maybe it makes your score 25% lower. Faster venom, maybe it makes it 20%, like a 20% higher score. Tougher enemies, maybe 25% higher score. Just throwing random numbers out there, but it's not everything needs to be tuned the same. None of the modifiers are really the same difficulty, but in the system that they have for Gears 5 right now, they're all treated equally. By separating out the difficulties from the modifiers, you allow yourself to have these different multipliers for each thing. It's definitely going to be a lot more work. Not only is there the whole UI aspect of it, but you need to figure out what the multiplier would be for each thing. But I think that it brings a lot more variety to the players, both in the different combinations they can have on, and what is available. It also, I think, makes things easier for the Coalition to add stuff post-launch, like additional modifiers. Sorry, just scrolling through my thread here to see what else I wanted to hit. Okay, so my first real introduction to Horde, a lot of people know that I enjoy playing Horde, or I enjoyed playing Horde, and my first real introduction to it was in Gears 3, when I teamed up with some people who would do no-fail 50s on Insane, and we did most of the maps. For the most part, we had 2 hard modifiers and super active reload. I think the hard ones were vampire and must active reload or something like that. But because of the easy modifier, we weren't at the top of the leaderboards, but we were pretty close. But you know what? I had a lot of fun. We weren't just doing the hardest thing we could to do the hardest thing we could do. We were doing almost the hardest thing, but having a lot of fun doing it. By allowing us to have this one option to add this easy thing in, I was able to take that baby step of, okay, I want to play on this hardest difficulty, I'm going to have less health, the enemies are going to do more damage, that type of stuff. But I'm not overwhelmed by myself also doing a lot less damage. It was a nice stepping stone for me. Or training wheels, I guess you could say. Eventually I was able to take off these training wheels and play without super active reload. But giving us the options to have things like that, it makes a really big difference. Okay, so another big issue that I have with the current system is the artificial grind for modifiers. In Gears 3, you unlocked stuff by completing some different tasks, but once you had the modifier unlocked, you had it unlocked. You could use it whenever you wanted. In Gears 5, you have, let's look at escape. In order to unlock it, you need to beat that hive with the previous modifier on. So whenever a new hive comes out, the first thing I do is I load up one modifier, speed through it, load up the next modifier, speed through it, and repeat until I have them all done. Then I can play on Inconceivable or Master difficulty. Why? Why do I need to do that? It's not adding any value to me as a player. All it's doing is making things more tedious for me. And it's not oh, you need to grind and earn this and it's rewarding. It's No, it's not rewarding. It's just annoying. Then let's go look at Horde, which is even worse, and that's why I have a bigger problem with Horde. You're supposed to complete, instead of just completing a hive, which will maybe take like 10 minutes, you're supposed to complete a Horde match, which is 50 full waves. Yes, I know you can just complete wave 50, and that's what my friends and I have done. We've sped through a lot of the maps just beating wave 50 alone with a modifier on to unlock the next one. But that's not really the intention. The intention is to beat Horde, like a full 1 to 50, with that modifier on, in order to unlock the next one. Not only that, but you have to do that on every map individually. Why? You're making an unnecessary grind that's blocking off all of these options from people until they just grind it out. I really don't like that. I think, like, besides a couple of those issues, one of the things that drives me crazy about this is I'm an analytical person and I like to evaluate stuff, and this whole difficulty thing has really baffled me. We had this amazing system in Gears 3, and I don't know why they went away from that in Gears 4. I kind of figured, they didn't want to bother with modifiers, it's a lot of work. But in Gears 5, they brought modifiers back. Why not take the Gears 3 system that worked so well? Why did you go to a system that limits the player options so much? The Coalition advertised Gears 5 a lot, saying, we want players to be able to play the way they want to play. And they even used this difficulty system as a way to advertise that and showcase, like, look at all these options you have. Yeah, but if you went with the Gears 3 system, you'd have even more options. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So, what do I want? I really want that Gears 3 system back where you choose your difficulty and then you choose your modifiers. It adds a lot more player options, and it allows for like a larger variety of types of modifiers. It would be really nice. I know it would be a lot of work. I haven't worked in game development. I have worked in software stuff, so I know that it is a pain to like patch something or fix something after launch. And I'm not going to argue, it definitely would be a lot of work. Not only do you guys have to do all the UI type stuff for it, but the Coalition would also have to figure out what the different multipliers would be for each mod. And yeah, it's easy to just put certain numbers in there, but people would figure out how to exploit certain ones. It would be really hard to get that balanced. But I think it would be worth it. I think the Coalition's got some smart people there. They could figure it out, and the community would love it. I also want the permanent modifier unlocks. So maybe the Coalition still wants people to grind stuff. But let's do this. If you unlock faster venom on a map, it's like, alright, now you have earned faster venom. Let us use that on any map. Don't make us re-grind to unlock that one again. Same with Horde. If you unlock a modifier, let us use that on any map. In my ideal world, I would say just give us, like, once you unlock 5 different modifiers, you now have them all unlocked forever. Don't make us grind out each individual one. But, okay, so as I said, change is not going to be easy. I think it's worth it, but it's not going to be easy. But if they don't want to separate out this difficulty from the modifier thing, what do I want to see them do? If nothing else, the permanent modifier unlocks like I just said. If we earn it one place, let us use it anywhere. Make my life so much easier. Null mods. I don't know really what to call these, but these are blank modifiers where if you can't separate out the difficulty from the modifier, allow us to put some modifiers on that don't actually change the mechanics. It's like, I don't want to add an additional game mechanic thing, but I want to go from normal to hardcore. Let me put this modifier on. I think that would be really nice. I don't know how that would work with score. It would be difficult because you're making the difficulty higher so you'd get a better score, but at the same time you're not really making it that much harder because you're not adding a new mechanic in. That one might be a little more work, but it would be nice to have. Iron Man. This one has driven me crazy. In Horde, it's not that important. But in Escape, let's picture this. You're doing, what's the latest one? The Hunters, okay? You play through, and if you don't have Iron Man, you play through, you die. Okay, I'm in the first chapter, let me restart at the beginning of the thing. Keep playing through. Okay, you've made it to the second chapter. Sweet. You die. Oh, you restart in the safe room. Keep going through. Now, if you turn Iron Man on, you run through. Doesn't matter how far you get. You die. You go back to the main menu. That makes sense. You can't start back from a checkpoint. You've got Iron Man on. Completely agree with that. But the loading screens in Gears 5 are absolutely insane. If I'm playing the Hunters and I get all the way to the end and then I die, give me the option to restart from the beginning of the hive. Not the safe room, but the beginning of the hive. Basically, it's the same thing as if I went to the menu and then loaded it back in. But at least now I don't have to sit through the 5-minute loading screen to get to the main menu, and then the 5-minute loading screen plus that really annoying cutscene that's driving me insane right now of the Snatcher taking me. Let me just restart back from the beginning. Alright, so let me add some closing remarks in here. The system definitely has grown on me. I'm not a fan of it still, especially for Horde. The artificial grind is absolutely unnecessary. The splitting of difficulties from modifiers would allow so many more different combinations and a wider variety of modifiers. I know it would be a lot of work, but I'd love to see it. So, let me know what you guys think, everyone out there. I've seen a few people who agree with me. There's been people who've commented on my videos or commented on Reddit and stuff saying they would have loved to see the Gears 3 system. Does anyone prefer the current system? I'm curious to hear why. I know I can be somewhat one-sided, single-minded sometimes. So if there's people who like the current system, I'd like to hear why and understand that. Also, do what I just did and assume the Coalition isn't going to change things significantly. I would love for them to, but just as a example, assume they're not going to. What small changes would you make? Like those 3 things I listed with Iron Man, null modifiers, and the artificial grind. What small changes would you recommend that they make in order to make your playtime a lot more enjoyable? Alright, so that's it. Let me know what you guys think down below on Twitter, on Reddit, wherever. Feel free to reach out. Let me know what you think of this style of video. If there's any other topics you want me to cover, make sure you let me know. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will catch you next time.